It's go time.
How to Train Your Dragon 4 could still happen, but only if one major condition is met. And no, it's not just about continuing the story. There's actually a good chance the baby dragon from the third movie could have a deeper connection with Hiccup's kids this time around. Way more than what we saw in that holiday special Homecoming. That one was cute, but let's be honest, it barely scratched the surface. Plus, there's another exciting angle worth mentioning. How to Train Your Dragon might have already set up the perfect spin-off movie over a decade ago. So with all that in mind, let's dive into everything we know so far about the potential next chapter in this dragon-filled world. So one of the best whisper directions it could take is picking up where the third movie and Homecoming left off, focusing on Hiccup and Astrid's kids and their growing bond with the next generation of dragons. Remember at the end of The Hidden World when Hiccup introduces his kids to Toothless and his Light Fury mates? Their three little dragon babies, affectionately called the Nightlights, were adorable, but their bond with the kids was just starting. That scene had a ton of emotional weight because it hinted at something more. A fourth film could explore how these Nightlights and Hiccup's children slowly build that same deep connection their parents once had. It wouldn't just be about riding dragons, it would be about learning trust, building friendship, and discovering what it really means to live in harmony with these incredible creatures. And let's be honest, there's so much we don't know about the Nightlights. Each one seems to have a unique personality, and it'll be awesome to see how they grow up, learn to fly properly, and even develop their own abilities. We've seen dragons evolve and gain new skills in past films, so it makes sense that the Nightlights could each bring something fresh to the table. Maybe one has a stronger plasma blast, maybe another flies faster than Toothless ever did. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities. On top of that, a fourth movie could explore the kind of power dynamics that come with young dragons trying to figure out their place in the hidden world. Just like teenage humans, they're going to make mistakes, challenge each other, and probably get into a few sky-high squabbles. Watching them grow up alongside Hiccup's kids who are also learning how to be brave, kind, and clever could create a parallel journey that echoes the spirit of the original trilogy while feeling totally new. It's not just about nostalgia anymore, it's about passing the torch. And if DreamWorks leans into that idea, How to Train Your Dragon 4 could be something really special. That said, now let's talk about where the How to Train Your Dragon franchise is heading, and more interestingly, where it could go next. Because there's a lot more potential here than just the upcoming live-action remake. We all know DreamWorks kicked off this whole thing back in 2010 with the original How to Train Your Dragon. It introduced us to Hiccup, the Viking misfit with a big heart, and Toothless, the rare Night Fury who basically redefined what it means to be a dragon in animation. That movie did so well, it led to a full trilogy and even a few animated series that filled in the gaps between the films. The whole thing wrapped up, at least for now, with The Hidden World in 2019. That finale was emotional, dragons disappearing into their secret world, Hiccup and Toothless saying goodbye, and years later, their kids meeting again. It felt like a proper conclusion, but just because the main trilogy ended doesn't mean the story has to. Universal clearly knows the brand still has legs, which is why they're working on a live-action version. But here's the thing. The real opportunity to keep this franchise going might have been quietly sitting there for over a decade, and that's a spin-off based on one of the most interesting characters we've met along the way, Valka. If you remember How to Train Your Dragon 2, that's when we met Valka, Hiccup's mom, voiced by Cate Blanchett. Her reveal was one of the biggest surprises in the series, because up until that point, we were told she was long gone. Turns out she had spent years living with dragons, rescuing them from hunters, and basically becoming this masked, mysterious dragon guardian. But despite her huge role in the second film, we actually didn't get that much of her backstory. That's what makes a Valka-centered spin-off such a good idea. It wouldn't mess with the events of the main trilogy or feel like a rehash, it would be something new but still familiar. We could see how she first discovered her connection to dragons, the early days of her adventures, and what she had to sacrifice along the way. Did she have allies? Was she completely on her own? There are 20 whole years of story to tell there, and if Cate Blanchett were up for reprising her role, that's a win right there. She's already a huge star and well-loved in the role, so having her lead a spin-off would give it an immediate boost. Plus, there's something kind of refreshing about giving the franchise a strong female lead, especially one that fans already know and like. But that's not all a Volca spin-off could offer. It could introduce new locations and dragon species we haven't seen yet. It could dive into some darker themes too, like the cost of choosing dragons over family, or the burden of being a lone protector. It might even find ways to connect back to the larger mythology or sneak in a few familiar faces along the way. There's definitely room to throw in a bunch of Easter eggs for longtime fans, whether that's nods to Stoic, flashbacks with baby Hiccup, or hints about Toothless's early days. Even though we haven't gotten anything official from DreamWorks about a Volca movie, it's kind of wild that something with so much potential hasn't been explored yet. Maybe they're saving it, or maybe the focus on the live-action remake has pushed everything else aside for now. Either way, it's hard to deny that this kind of spin-off could really work. Now, as for How to Train Your Dragon 4, well, that's a whole different conversation. A lot of fans want it to happen, but it comes with one pretty big condition. Dean DeBlois has to be involved. He's the guy who co-directed the first movie and then took the reins solo for the second and third. His writing, his direction, that's what made the trilogy so consistently great. Without him, a fourth movie risks feeling totally off-brand. Like, it might still look good, but it wouldn't feel the same. And DeBlois has actually said before that he wasn't planning on doing a fourth one. In an old interview, he mentioned that the trilogy had a complete arc and that any future stories should be spin-offs, not continuations. So unless he's had a change of heart, DreamWorks would be doing it alone if they made a fourth film. That's where things get tricky, because sure, people love the idea of revisiting Hiccup and Toothless or even seeing more of their kids in the new generation of dragons. But the minute you do that without the guy who built the story from the ground up, you're walking a tightrope. The first 3 movies were not only box office hits, they were critically loved too. It's rare for a trilogy to stay that strong the whole way through. So messing with that legacy is risky business. Still, you can never fully rule it out. Hollywood loves a good comeback, and if the stars align, maybe DeBlois comes back, maybe the fan demand is too strong to ignore, it could happen. But it has to be done right. No shortcuts, no studio meddling. In the meantime, there are still plenty of ways to enjoy the franchise. You can stream the movies on platforms like Hulu, Amazon, or the Roku channel. And if you haven't checked out How to Train Your Dragon 2 in a while, it's worth a rewatch just to appreciate how much setup it gave for a possible Volca spin-off. And that's what we have to say about the fourth movie. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.